Hey guys, how you doing? It's MexiGary with a massive update this week. We've got a brand new residency that we're going to be doing in Glasgow every single first Friday of the month, and it's at a place called Lucky Strike down in Mitchell Street. It's just a bloody beautiful venue, and it's like a rock bar. I think I talked about this on maybe my first podcast. It's a cool rock place. It does bands pretty much every night of the week, or at least solo acts doing acoustic music. And yeah, I mean, we played there once before. It was at the 1st of February. And I tell you what, the requests we were getting was all like Linkin Park, Foo Fighters, Green Day, Rage Against the Machine. Even somebody asked for like Soundgarden, and Nirvana and Alice in Chains. I was like, man, this is totally down up our street. And luckily, the manager of the place, Ewan, loved what we did as well. So he was like, "Well, you want to come in and do a regular thing?" And I was like, "I would bloody love to do that, man." So looks like we're going to be there. Lucky Strike, first Friday of every month in the town centre of Glasgow. And if you don't even live in Glasgow, it's right beside Central Station, so it's so easy to get to if you just want to pop in. Although I have to say, it is 10 till midnight, so you might be able to get a train in, but we're going to finish at midnight. So don't have that. I don't know if there's trains after midnight, but anyway, there we go. First Friday of every month, guys. And in other big news, it's been a crazy couple of weeks, man. Coast Entertainment's had us doing a new video. I talked about the recording of it last week. I talked about the audio recording of it last week. But this week just gone, on Wednesday there, we did the visuals, we did the actual video. And yeah, man, I'm really excited about it. It looks like it's going to be the best video we've ever done. I'm so excited to show you guys it. It's got a little. I don't mind telling you right now the tracks that are on it. It's not quite as pop punky as I would like. I would like to have done a bit more pop punk new metal, but we've got to stay at least a little bit mainstream. So we did Born to Be Wild by Steppenwolf. We did a couple of ZZ Top numbers. We did Morgan Wallen Post Malone featuring Morgan Wallen. I had some help. We also did Superstition, an oldie but a goldie as well. Always gets people on the floor. And we finished with Caledonia. So, I mean, you can't say it better than that. It kind of goes across the board. It kind of includes a few different bits and pieces. But the main annoying thing for me on the day was, I mean, it was at night. It was on Wednesday night between 6 and 11 p.m. And it was just the same. It was only like 1 minute of each song, but it was just over and over again. And I had to keep remembering what guitar, I was using for each song. The guys kept doing sweeps of each track. So it was like 5 songs in a row, over and over again. And I tell you what, like, this is the same thing with original music, though. Like, once you've finished recording an album, you kind of never want to play the songs. You spend 6 months making an album of brand new material, and by the time you're done with it, you kind of never want to hear them again, in a way. So, even more so when it comes to covers. But there are a couple of tunes on this new demo video that I'll never get bored of playing. And I think one of those is Caledonia, and the other one is Morgan Wallen one. But I love all of them. I got enough guitar solos in there, and I think my singing on the recordings, because as I was saying last week, I just sang them over and over again for like 6 hours on the day of the actual audio recording at Roddy's studio. I just kept singing them over and over again, and he kind of comped them down to the best takes of each one, and then doubled it as well. So I had basically the best 2 takes of each song. So it was fine. It was great, and I'm looking forward to you guys hearing it. And I've got a list here of stuff that I wanted to talk about. So in the video that we did for this is 3-Card Trick, by the way. This is the cover stuff. So we were originally going to wear tuxedos. Like, enough said about that. That's between me and Andy, who's the agent for the main agent for Coast Entertainment. So I'm the CEO, I should say. So we have a close relationship over the last 15 or 16 years, and we sometimes come to blows. And the only thing we've come to blows in the last few years about was, I don't feel like we're the kind of band that should be wearing tuxedos, but, he's paying for it all. So I was happy to cave and give it a bash if it came to that. But it just so happened that he booked it on the Monday and the actual filming was on the Wednesday. So I was like, well, we'll just wear what we wore at the last showcases, the live showcase, which was all black with the black, obviously polished black boots and all that stuff. And red ties, a little bit old school for us, but it's still classy and relevant. It shows that we've got the... and it's the uniform thing that I like. It's such an easy thing to make uniform for our band anyway. It's like black waistcoats, red ties, everything else is black. Nice and sharp, as Andy was saying. We made sure we had haircuts and shaves and all that. So I think it's going to look great. And the guys doing the lighting, there was a guy called Stuart that was doing the lighting, and we had Dave Scott from Mr. Karma Productions doing the filming. And again, we had Andy from Coast Entertainment's directing it. And, it was just such an easy day. It was a bit, like I said, it was a bit repetitive. But I knew, like, looking back through, like, certain bits on the viewfinder that I could see, I was like, we're going to look great. And I already knew that it sounded great because I've heard the tracks. But I haven't even heard the final tracks. So we'll see how it goes. I'm sure it's going to be the best thing we've ever done. I think it's the one where we've all just got our heads together and went, what's the best of what we all want to do here? I got my classic rock thing. I got my guitar solos in there. Andy got his, he got us looking nice and sharp, and he picked. We agreed on the song. Well, me and the band agreed on the songs. And then Andy signed off on them. So I think it's going to look and sound great. So anyway, let's move on from that. So later that night on Wednesday, we had Stramash, which is one of my favourite pubs ever to play in. It's not even really a pub. It's like a huge converted cathedral in Edinburgh, and it was absolutely the busiest Wednesday we've had in years. It was just from the moment we got there, people were just going crazy, not because of us. They were just going crazy because they were just such fans of live music. So we just did like a greatest hits of everything, like Kerrang, a little bit of classic rock. We did some AC/DC, but mostly when we play there, we do, Blink, Green Day, Linkin Park, Rage Against the Machine, System of a Down, obviously Chop Suey being the biggest hit, Limp Bizkit, a little bit of Oasis. We do some Arctic Monkeys, Bowling for Soup we did. No, it was just a great night. And then all the requests that we get there they all just seem to be stuff that we like playing. So I'm like, holy shit, like, what does any band that isn't us do there? They probably don't take requests. But if you're like a folky or a blues band and you go, what do you want to hear? And somebody shouts My Chemical Romance, what the fuck are you going to do? Maybe they don't do that, but we like doing that but then again, if you've already established what you're doing, like if you play like an hour of folky bluesy stuff and you go, what do you want to hear? And somebody shouts out like Bob Dylan or Rolling Stones, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, you'd probably be able to manage that. You really probably should be able to. But it's the same with us when we play Howlin' Wolf, which is what we did on Wednesday night there. So Howlin' Wolf was like strangely busy again because this is a weird time of year. What are we at the middle of February now? So people are just kind of getting their finances back in order after the whole 6 weeks of not being paid. Before Christmas, you get paid, and then you don't get paid again until the end of January, if you're working a day job. And then at the end of February, you get paid. So I don't really know why it was so busy this week. But Wolf was busy. And it was people in their 20s, like early 20s, digging what we were doing anyway. Like, I don't usually take requests at the Wolf because just experience shows me that, you're playing in a blues bar, and yet if you say, what do you want to hear? People will say Mr. Brightside or Wonderwall. And sometimes I'll take the piss out of that a little bit, but it's all in jest, But yeah, the people were just requesting, like, the Doors. I think we had the Kinks at one point, which was really cool. And that was a 20-year-old well, 20, an early 20s girl was asking, have you got any kinks? And I was like, that's fucking cool. Then what else did we get? Some guy did ask for a Tenacious D tribute, which I thought we might do. We might do. It's a little bit classic Rocky, so it kind of more fits the bill than some of the stuff that we get asked for. So, but we didn't end up having time to do that. So, but I do love playing tribute by Tenacious D because it's just one of them songs that like everybody gets involved with. You know, it's just such a fun tune to play because you get people to sing along constantly. And last night's wedding was at a place called Drumtochty Castle in. Is it Drumtochty Castle or Drumtochty House? In Aberdeenshire. Hold on. Oh, it's Castle, yes. Auchenblay, Lawrence Kirk, Aberdeenshire. And it's a cool venue. There's no stage, but it's cool because you kind of load in. It's like we can back the van up to this like patio area, and then you actually load in through these windows that you can open. It's full-length windows. You just open the window and load in right onto the stage. So it's one of the easiest load-ins that I've ever came across. I think the windows are quite skinny, so it is tough to get the gear through, especially since our drummer has just got like a big bottom-sized drum, bass drums. So I don't know if he actually even fitted it through the window. But our bass drum, our bass cabs, bass bins, you know, the subs that you use, they only just fitted through like a millimetre on each side. But it was just weird to load in through a window to a venue. The room's always empty when we're loading in, so people can't see us struggling with this shit, you know what I mean? You're trying to squeeze through this tiny window with this massive, backline and massive PA rig. But no, I think I'm going to scale down the PA, to be honest, because I really think that technology's moved on so much that we don't need these big 18-inch bins anymore. I think we can use the bass pods, you know, especially since the drummer's he's upscaled his kit, so he's got a huge kit now. So it already sounds huge acoustically, so there's no need for me to have these two 18-inch subs. I might get one of those Bose line array systems or something similar to that, but, you know, I'll talk to you about that another time once I've got them. So the gig itself, in fact, I'm just going to skip. This will be the first time I've done this, but I'm just going to interject with a video that I posted on Instagram and stuff like that on the 3 Card Trick page, which is the name of my covers band. And that's a video that describes what went on the night. And the first dance was great. It was Romeo and Juliet, but you'll hear that in a minute anyway, so here we go. How's it going, guys? It's Gary here. We just got back from a wedding at Drumtochty Castle in Aberdeenshire for Mr. and Mrs. Durnberg, and what a night it was. Here's a little bit of footage of the first dance, which was the epic Romeo and Juliet, originally by Dire Straits, and covered by the Killers at some point as well. Here it goes. Check out the lightsabers. Oh, it was only 35 people this evening, last night. So it was quality over quantity, let's put it that way. See you later. So, this week's gigs, well, I'm putting this out today because I'm recording it on Saturday evening, Saturday the 15th evening, because I've been a bit late with the last couple, and I really want to make sure that this always comes out on a Sunday night. But unfortunately, the Sunday night hasn't happened yet, so I might just put it out on Sunday afternoon. I'll schedule it for Sunday afternoon. But tonight, I just want to run through the gigs that we're doing this week, just in case you're local to Glasgow and you want to come and see the band, you want to come and meet me and talk away about gear, whatever. So tonight, on Sunday the 16th, me and our drummer and our guitar player from the Wolf gigs will be playing at the Howlin' Wolf on 100 Bath Street with Charlotte Marshall from Charlotte Marshall in the 45s. And it's a jam session. So bring a guitar down, or even don't. Just, use one of mine or Gav's. We don't care. And the kit will be there as well. Drumsticks, everything you need, and microphones. So just show up and get up and have a jam with us and show us your chops, and maybe we can have a chat about gear and stuff like that. And that's on tonight and every Sunday. In fact, we're doing that for the next 3 weeks with Charlotte. We used to do it a little bit more often, but when we became a little bit busier with the weddings on Sundays, we stopped doing it. But we're doing it for 3 weeks in a row. So with this week, 23rd and the 2nd, you'll find me, Gibby, and Gav playing as a house band with Charlotte Marshall at the Howlin' Wolf in Glasgow, which is the only, to my knowledge, the only dedicated blues bar in the whole country of Scotland, UK. So it's always mobbed, because if you like that kind of music, you just know that's the place to find it, live. So we're doing that tonight on Sunday. I've got Monday and Tuesday off, and I'm going to record some new tunes on Monday and Tuesday. Then on Wednesday is the day that I'll be able to change the name of my YouTube channel for various technical reasons. I'm changing the name of this YouTube channel from Gary Johnston to MexiGary. It's a long story. I'll talk about it another time. Well, actually, I might as well just tell you now. My first ever band was called Mexico, right? Because we loved this band called the Presidents of the United States of America. You might remember them as the band that did "Moving to the Country, Gonna Eat a Lot of Peaches." That was the Presidents of the United States of America. And that was the one band that me and, that was one of the bands that me and the drummer at the time, Neil, Mexi Neil, as we became, he was Mexi Neil, I was MexiGary. So, but I just like that nickname. I think it's intriguing. I think it's unique. The name is always available on social media if you want to start a new account, because what other reason would anybody have to call them, their social media account MexiGary? Plus, it's just easier to find. Think about all these 90s bands, right? I mean, I'm talking about mainly in the UK here, but, there's some like one word or maybe one or two word bands from that started in the late 80s or the 90s, that would be impossible to Google now. You need to have a name nowadays that's like, look at Lady Gaga. Like, you type in Lady Gaga, you're going to get fucking Lady Gaga. You know what I mean? You type in, who else has got a weird name? These Brothers Osborne, that might be a tougher one, but, I'm looking on my, I'm looking at my vinyls wall right now, and obviously most of this stuff was from like 20 years ago, so it's not the best place to. Lizzo, I'm just kind of spitballing new acts, Machine Gun Kelly. These are all really unique artist names that you just didn't see much of back in the 90s. And I tell you why. Well, my theory as to why is because the internet didn't exist then. So you weren't Googling things. You just kind of came across them either live or on the telly. And then how did you find them? You sent away for a press pack, or you sent away for a fan pack. Not a fanny pack, by the way, a fan, you know what I'm talking about. You wanted to join the fan mailing list. And I'm not talking about an email mailing list. I'm talking about like a physical, you'll get like a fan mailing list pack in the post from the actual postman every month, and it was kind of great. But nowadays you can't just have a name like Oasis or Pulp or Blur or what did we have back there? Well, Nirvana. I know that's a bit more unique, but you still couldn't just Google Nirvana. You can now because they're a famous band, but you couldn't have then. You would have come up with all this Greek mythology stuff or whatever they were named after. Green Day, Blink-182. Well, Blink-182 is a different one because that Blink weren't actually called Blink-182. They were originally called Blink. So this California band called Blink ended up almost getting sued from an Irish band that was also called Blink. So Blink just took the number 182 and chucked it on the end of their name. but you couldn't imagine them ever just be. I mean, we call them Blink, obviously, nowadays, but you couldn't really imagine them just being called Blink because of all the logos that we've seen in it. That's just an iconic thing, the Blink-182 thing. And I don't know whatever happened to that fucking Irish band that were, tried to sue Blink, But to be fair, at the time, Blink-182 were probably shit, they're just a garage band, So they changed the name to Blink-182, and legend has it that the reason that they call themselves Blink-182 is because apparently that's how many times Al Pacino swears in a film. And I can't remember what film it was. I'll try and find it. Hold on. Yeah, it was actually Scarface. I thought I better check that out because I was going to say Goodfellas or The Godfather, but or maybe even Casino. But no, it was apparently. I mean, I haven't checked. Feel free to, but apparently Al Pacino says fuck 182 times in the running time of the original theatrical version of Scarface. I mean, it's probably a lot more in the director's cut. But yeah, that was that. So all I'm trying to say is, like, when you, because the reason I'm changing my artist name from Gary Johnston, which is my actual name, to, well, Gary Christopher Johnston is the full name, to MexiGary is because it's just easier to Google. You know what I mean? You find an artist called Drake, I suppose. There's nothing else that's really Drake. Lizzo. I mean, it's weird because then again, you got guys like John Mayer, but I don't know. I feel like Gary Johnston is it's kind of a pedestrian name. Plus, don't forget, like, John Mayer came out in about 2000. So that was only at the fruition of the internet as well. I just feel like you always want to have something that's a bit unique. Paramore is a great one and look at Avril Lavigne. I mean, to be born with a name like that, as long as you can fucking spell it when you're Googling it, you're going to find that. But Gary Johnston's an American politician. I don't want to get, tied in with all that kind of stuff, thinking like, oh, did he name himself after this, blue tie? I don't even know if he wears a blue tie, but this political guy. So I didn't want to be lumped in with that. But let me know what you guys think, because I keep forgetting to say I'm up for like to and fro's in the comments, and like and subscribe and do all that shit, please, because I really enjoy doing the podcast and talking to you guys, and some of the comments have been quite funny. You've been harking back to the couple of videos that I did about the GT1, and I'll always be here to answer your questions on that, man. To be honest, because it's what kind of really boosted up my YouTube channel was the tutorials on the Boss GT1 and multi-effects pedal. And as I've said before, the reason I got that pedal was so weird because I really hated all digital stuff. I was all like pure valve amp. I don't even talk about music that much on my channel, like apart from the gigs that we're doing. But I didn't used to use any digital stuff. I used the digital delay, but as far as the actual setup was concerned, it was a proper valve amp, old school pickups, maybe a 2000s Strat or Telly. And nowadays, I'm using this GT1 as standard because it's just a brilliant toolbox. Like, it does everything that you would ever need. Well, not ever need, but for most people, if you're a shoegaze experimental, I don't know, maybe prog rock band, you might not get everything you want out of it, but for most people, it does the job, and it's very simple to use. But when I was buying it, I wasn't even looking for that. I was looking for a Helix. Because it was at the point, must have been just before lockdown. It was like 2018, and a lot of the venues we were playing was getting into silent stages, so we needed to have like in-ear monitors, V-kit, no live amps on the stage, and I was just like, well, if I'm gonna get anything like simulator wise, I'm gonna get the best. So I went into my local music shop, Guitar in Glasgow. And I was like, let me just get a new Helix. let me try it out. There was another one called the Blog Amp, Thomas Blog Amp 1 that I was trying out. And then a guy who I barely know. I mean, I met him quite a few times. His name's Robert. Brilliant guitar player. Played with a band called Big Vern and the Shooters in Glasgow. In fact, I do know him through my like a girlfriend I had just before then, and she was the merch girl for his band. Called Big Vern and the Shooters, and he just popped his head round the door while I was trying out this Helix, and he was like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing with that?" I was like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "You will never use like 90% of what's on that, and you're paying for more than you need. It's taking up way too much real estate on the stage for what you're going to use it for." And I was like, well, I thought this was the industry standard. And he goes, "Why don't you try this?" And he just popped in this little Boss GT1, which is probably about the size of an iPad. Well, it's maybe a little bit bigger than an iPad on the floor in front of you. It's got 3 buttons and a wah pedal. You know, 3 foot pedals and a wah pedal. And you can use the wah as a volume or a wah or a pitch shifter or a couple of other things, I think. I'm not sure what they would be. But, you can use it to change the delay time. You can use it to change anything. The volume of your effects, the volume of your modulation effects, and how much they mix. The mix level of your modulations. So anyway, it's a really versatile pedal, and I didn't think I was going to like it, but I've used it for fucking hell. Must be 2018. So yeah, we're going on 8 years. Is that right? 9 years. Jesus Christ. But I can't say that I haven't ever gone back to the analog pedals. Like my main ones are the Blues Driver. And by the way, I've got to say, some people have asked me about this. What do you think of the TS9? The TS9 was great, or the TS808, or the TS8, whatever you want to call it. The Ibanez Tube Screamer, right? I don't get it. I just don't get it. I know it was great for Stevie Ray Vaughan and loads of people having their pedal boards even now. I just don't get it. I always preferred the Boss Blues Driver. I now have a Wazacraft Blues Driver, but it's pointless because the only difference between a Wazacraft Blues Driver and the original Blues Driver, the BD2 that is it's got a switch on it that gives you vintage, as in original or modern drive. It might even be EQ. And I'm like, when you're using analog pedals, like the Blues Driver, like the Tube Screamer, like the Rat, you just want something that you can set it and forget it, right? So I don't need a switch on it to go. If I'm going to use a modern distortion, I've got the Rat. If I want the vintage blues distortion, the Blues Driver's there. So I don't really understand why Wazacraft are coming out with these things. Maybe they've got upgraded chips as well that make the vintage sounds a little bit more transparent or whatever fucking words you want to use to make yourself think that you know more than most people about tone. I don't get it. I've tried them both back to back. They sound identical. So all I would say to you guys, if you're into those kind of tones, don't bother getting any kind of modern fucking modulated version of these old pedals. Just get the original and use it. Set it and forget it. And the way that I would set the Blues Driver is I would have the level up full and the gain about maybe 10 o'clock and the tone to taste. It really depends what your amp and your pickups are. Right? Doesn't even to me. It doesn't even depend where your guitar is. It really depends what the output and EQ range of your pickups is, and the output level. So just set your tone based on that, and you'll have a great time, right? But don't be one of these people who buys a pedal that see these. I've gone off on a tangent again. I didn't mean to do that, but those pedals are not meant to be. I don't think for live work. They're not meant to be the types that you have to bend over every 5 minutes and change the settings on. I think you find your tone, and I think the only reason they did the Wazacraft thing was to try and modernise the pedal, which they did a good job of, but it's just not my. It's not why I bought a Blues Driver. It's why I bought a Rat. The Rat pedals are fucking brilliant. They have got this really modern, and when I say modern, by the way, clearly I don't mean like 2025. I'm talking about like everything from like maybe like 2000s, like this new metal thing. I know they were out before that. They'd have been out a long time ago, but I just feel like it does a great job of Nickelback, Foo Fighters, Rage Against the Machine, Linkin Park, Papa Roach. The Rats are bloody amazing. And I tell you what else they're good for. They're great at beefing up a Strat. Like you could have a Strat going into just a slight crunch amp, and the Rat will make you feel like you're playing like an Ibanez or a Les Paul, something bigger and better. But you've got to watch the tone. You've got to watch the cut, because the Rats are very sensitive. They've still got the input gain, and they've still got they've got the input gain. They've got the master. I can't remember what they call them on, because every pedal's slightly different. It's like they've still got the drive, and they've still got the output, but they've got a very sensitive EQ in the middle. I do remember that it's in the middle of the pedal. The other annoying thing about the Rat is that they use a slightly different. They need a conversion cable for power. So, I mean, they take a battery as well, but if you're going to use it without a power supply, if you're going to use it with a power supply, you need to make sure that you've got this conversion cable. At least on the one I've got, the Proco Rat 1. And maybe the Proco Rat 2's, I think there's a Turbo Rat as well. I've never used that, but I believe that's the one that Dave Grohl or Chris Shiflett use in the Foo Fighters. Sorry, not the Foo Fighters, Foo Fighters. So, Rats are great as well. Blues Drivers are immense. Tube Screamers can get in the fucking bin. You know what I prefer over Tube Screamers? Is the not the Super Overdrive. It's a Boss. No, the OCD. Who makes the OCD again? Is it MXR? Right, OCD distortion pedal. Hold on. OCD distortion pedal by Full Tone. Of course it is. Oh my God, these things are getting pricey. Yeah, even a second-hand one's 150 quid now. Man, I tell you what, the OCDs are like they're like the Tube Screamer that knows what it's doing. It just seems to be somewhere between the Tube Screamer, the Boss. You can get ratty tones out of it, but again, it's one that's got high pass and low pass switch in it. So you'd have to just kind of pick your battle there and just go, what am I going to use this pedal for? By the way, see in the studio, these pedals with switches and various different EQ sweeps and overdrive styles, they're amazing for in the studio when you're trying to come up with layers and stuff like that. But most of what I'm doing is live. So I just want to be able to look down and go, that pedal does that pedal does that. I know what they can all do, but I want to make sure that I don't have to bend over and change the settings per song. It might be different if I was doing an actual set of original music and I wanted them to sound exactly like the records. But most of the time, even massive bands don't do that. I mean, they don't even bother trying to make every single song sound exactly like the record, because you wouldn't want that either. You want it to be a live experience. I went to see the Eagles at Hampden in Glasgow years and years ago, about 15, maybe even longer, 20, 18 years ago, and they sounded exactly like the record. But it was one of the reasons why I was a bit bored, because I knew the record so well, but nothing was surprising. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I better wrap up the podcast there, guys, because it's coming to 33 minutes. So, anyway, like I said, this week's gigs, or did I say? This week we're going to be at Box on Wednesday. Howlin' Wolf on Thursday from 11. Both gigs start at 11. We're off on Friday. I've got a wedding on Saturday. And then, as I said earlier, next Sunday, the 23rd, we're going to be at the Howlin' Wolf doing the jam. So if you want to come and see us and have a jam with us, your best bet is either tonight, if you get this podcast quick enough, from 9 till 1 at the Howlin' Wolf, or next Sunday from 9 till 1 at the Howlin' Wolf. And guys, it's been lovely to talk to you again. Thank you so much for hanging out. Don't forget to check out my new album, Rogue Biology. A few tracks off that are getting playlisted right now by various guys on Spotify. So the song's called Drive You Away. Drive You Away, which sounds depressing, but it's actually not. It's a very uplifting Nickelback, Rage, Muse kind of jaunt. And I'm going to be putting tutorials up on YouTube for that one soon, even though you probably don't need them because it's just your standard drop D fare. So, new music, check out Doug Jagger's new album. Well, new songs on Spotify. I don't know anybody else who's putting out new music at the moment, but when I do, I will let you know. And thank you so much for checking out the podcast. Like I said, like, subscribe, please do comment. I want to have conversations with you guys about stuff that we're talking about here. I'm sure a lot of you will disagree with me about things like the old the Tube Screamer stuff, you know, because there's a lot of lovers for that pedal. But there's also a lot of people like me who are confused by why it was so popular. You know, Stevie Ray Vaughan used it, and that's one of the reasons why I got into trying it. But it's one of those things. Stevie Ray Vaughan also used 13, 14, sometimes 15 gauge strings. But we don't do that either. You know what I mean? So just, you know, fly in your own, like, drive in your own lane. You know, what's the word? Cut your own cake. I don't know. All right, thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time.